G'day guys, it's Terry Magalakis here from Conqueror Enterprise. I thought I'd like to do this short video for you guys about my new released book, The Conqueror Within. This is my first published book and there is plenty more to come. This has been one of my biggest goals, but my biggest accomplishments in my life, primarily because of the backstory behind this book. And the story began when I was 4 years old, being told at a certain year level that I was at to be a below average student who was very slow and being labelled pretty much by teachers and other, even the school, to being told I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't even talk properly. This was not only devastating to me, but this was actually devastating to my family. And this really stuck with me for a very, very long time. And I know there's some people out there who have been prejudged, who have been basically labelled, and who have basically been put sidelined more so by certain people because they didn't see anything in that person worthy enough to go further with. So this stuck with me until I finished VCE. It wasn't really long after that when I went to Victoria University and I went to a class called Creative Writing. This was in Bachelor of Arts at Footscray Park. And I was the only person to go to this class. And the teacher, seeing me being the only student in there, she decided to actually cancel the whole class the entire semester. And I actually said to her, I want to write a book. Just set it out. Set it out there. And it was one of those ideas I'll never think that I was worthy enough or valuable enough to actually do it. And she sat down with me and we started talking about it. Now, the book never started then. And this was when I was 23. I'm 26 now. But what I started to do was write blogs. And I got into WordPress. And what I started to do was write blogs about my personal life, my history. Everything about life that I basically went through, the challenges, the obstacles, the setbacks, the failures, everything. And it was, the whole blog website was called I Am Unstoppable. And I wrote 4 blogs in a matter of, if I remember correctly, it was 2 years. And this was a huge hit for WordPress. I remember having over 1,000 views, not only from Australia, but all over the world, especially America and places that even India. If I remember correctly, going back through the history of these articles, people in India were actually reading these blogs and sending their comments, finding it very inspirational. And after, when I finished uni back in 2014, what happened was 2 months after I started Conqueror Enterprise. As you can see behind me, this is the emblem and this is my new banner actually. And Jacinta, if you're watching this, thank you so much for this design. I am so thankful and I'm so grateful for you to come into my life to really help me with this. Going back to with my business, when I started Conquer Enterprise, this started in 2015. And basically, my goal was to create something different that no one's ever seen. And this was create a company that was completely different, not only with treating people with just its product range. And at the moment, I've got merchandise going. But when I started it back in 2015, the first 6 months, I had clients who were other entrepreneurs or coaches, all small-time business owners and CEOs as well. Packages were getting developed, my website was getting developed, everything was going according to plan. And then halfway through the year of 2015, I had the idea of actually writing the goal down of my first published book. Now, again, I like to be different. I remember one of the quotes is, especially with competition or if you're going against something, I always said to anyone, any of my clients, it's basically, it's not about you being better, it's about you being different. And with you being different, that's when you create better results. So I said to myself, I want to create a book. Now, of course, being that bland, I knew the result wasn't going to be very bland as well. So I had to be very specific. And being a big reader over the years, I had a lot of self-development books. And one of the big books was this one. This was the Tony Robbins Awaken the Giant Within. This was one of my first books. And I have met Tony on 2 occasions, when I was 15 and when I was 25. And this is a great book. This took me a while to read, but this is the point that I wanted to make. This book is pretty much very big. It's actually about 540 pages long. As you can see, it's very thick. And I started doing research about books, about first published books. And what I found was that people who read don't go past 100 pages. So if I were to get 100 pages right now, 100 pages right now is pretty much that. And look how much rest you got to go. So it's pretty much that. People stop and they quit reading, or they just don't have time, or they've lost interest, and that's how much they've got to go. And this was a big challenge for me to actually write a book that has everything that entrepreneur, coach, a network marketer, or anyone who's in need of motivation or inspiration. And as I was just thinking about it, as I let the goal go, and basically I got on with my business and I got on with other work and other priorities, I couldn't help but notice the massive bookshelf I've got upstairs with all my books. And seeing all those books, I had a lot of other self-development books and a lot of other authors, but one book particular was The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. And this book, remember correctly, came out during the 1900s, early 1900s. Unfortunately, Wallace did pass away in 1911, but this book basically remains his best book as of yet. It really left a legacy behind, but it was one thing that really intrigued me was this book is only 100 pages long. And I finished this within a day. So I said to myself, why not create a book that has everything that a person wants in under 100 pages? And basically I gave myself a goal to write a book within 6 months. And this was challenging for me because, again, I had to get rid of the negative influences of my life that really put me down, about the people who told me I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't even talk. So it was one of those things that I really had to clear a lot of those things. And I did. And the deadline I gave myself was 6 months. Now, a lot of people who are published authors are very shocked that I've written a book in 6 months, because it usually takes them a good year or 2 years. And the overall theme of the book, The Conqueror Within, was primarily giving back to people. As much as that this was important to me, important to my family, even important to other people in my life, this book set the tone for me, as in, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. And looking at it now and seeing this, even if I told myself back then that, Terry, you're going to be a published author, I would have laughed at myself. I would have said, you've got to be kidding me. After being told by teachers numerous times that, you're not going to amount to anything. How on earth am I going to write a book? But again, the odds were stacked against me. I had a lot of eyes watching me. I had a lot of people who were jealous, a lot of people who were envious, but I didn't care, because I knew that this was important to me. This is fulfilling. I can have other things. I can have, the materialistic sets, the clothing, the watches, the cars, everything. But I find that the one thing that is priceless to me is this book, because I tell you right now, this book has really proven to not only to other people who've doubted me, but to prove to myself that I'm more than worthy. And the thing is, I am more than worthy than what people assume, especially back then. And again, they didn't know any better. They just said, listen, we see the facts and figures and we think he's not going to amount to anything. But I say to people, go against those rules, go against the stacks and figures that people say about you. Because at the end of the day, I created this book, and this book took me 6 months to write, and I've got over 100 copies of it. And I am actually down to, I bought 100, I actually ordered the 100 copies, and now I've only got 80 left. And yes, they are all signed. But at the end of the day, I find that a lot of people procrastinate a lot, very fearful, very doubtful, and they're in disbelief. And this book basically is for anyone who has been prejudged, who have been sidelined, who have been ignored, who have been mistreated. This book really stands out for anyone who's in the trenches of life, who really need it to basically get out and go towards the light. And this book has done so much, especially for me, for my family, and for other people who have bought it. And I've got, the great reviews and all that stuff, but it's more importantly that, what did you learn from this? what did you learn from this book? What really stood out? And a lot of people have expressed what this book really stood out. And I'm so happy and grateful that there are people out there who have bought it. And if you're not one of those people who haven't bought it, like I said, I'm not forcing you. It's up to you. Free will. You can buy this whenever you want. If you feel that you're stuck, you don't know what you want in life, or you just want a bit of guidance, you want more motivation, you want more inspiration of something, I find this book's for you. It's not something that's come from a logical place. Yes, of course, it's got some logic. How do I say this? It's got the scientific methods of what coaches use. But this has come from a heart space, and this took me 6 months to write. And I've expressed certain things in my life through challenges and obstacles that I've written in this, basically to tell you that you're no different to anyone else. Basically, you're associated and you're worthy enough. And I'm saying, if I can do it, then you can do it. So yeah, I just wanted to leave it with that. And again, this book, I find it that it's for the leaders of tomorrow. So if you consider yourself a leader that can change the world, this should be this should be in your book collection right now. So on that note, I'd like to thank everyone who supported me, friends, family, other coaches, other entrepreneurs, other network marketers. I'd like to thank God as well, because, he was a big help in my life through a number of years. And yes, I have written him in the book, dedicated to him. And that's pretty much it, really. Like I said, if I can do it, then you can do it. And it's really, really, really simple. So have a great day. I hope to see you soon. I love you. Take care of yourself and each other.